Clara Sterling, 32 years old. I am the lead structural engineer on the Seaport Tower project in Boston. The screen of my phone lit up suddenly on the polished granite countertop. 29 missed calls flashed across the display. The area code was familiar. It belonged to my hometown. I had deleted all their contact numbers years ago. A cold weight settled in my stomach. My breath caught in my chest. My hands froze on the stainless steel sink. My family had always denied my reality. They had always minimized my efforts. My very integrity was often called into question. They built a public narrative around their perfect son. That narrative always erased my existence. My truth was consistently reframed as selfishness. My quiet determination was dismissed as stubbornness. My academic achievements were often belittled. My accomplishments were used to elevate my brother. My mother always offered excuses. My father always delivered judgment. The calls were from my mother. Her name did not appear. It was just the number. It was just the familiar ache in my jaw. I had learned early to clench it tightly. I had learned to say nothing. The Sterling family had a certain shine. My father was a respected real estate developer. My mother chaired numerous charity committees. Their sprawling colonial house sat on Willow Creek Lane. It featured perfectly manicured lawns. A tall oak tree shaded the front. The paint was always freshly touched up. Neighbors spoke of their generosity. Friends praised their devotion. They hosted elegant summer garden parties. Christmas carols echoed from their windows. Our family portrait hung proudly in the living room. It showed four smiling faces. My brother Daniel stood beside my father. I stood slightly behind my mother. We all wore matching pastel sweaters. Our public image was immaculate. We were the ideal American family. No one saw the quiet dining room table. No one heard the whispers late at night. No one knew the cost of that perfect facade. The smell of lemon polish filled the dining room. Dust motes danced in the afternoon sun. I was 8 years old. My arithmetic test lay open on the mahogany table, a perfect score 100%. My pencil moved slowly, tracing the red ink. I looked up at my father. His eyes scanned the paper. A small frown creased his brow. Very good, Clara, he said. His voice lacked enthusiasm. He pushed the paper back across the table. Daniel got a 98 on his history test. That is much harder. My small victory felt instantly hollow. My mother nodded in agreement. She patted my father's arm. Daniel has such a gift for understanding people, she murmured. Numbers are so straightforward. My throat tightened suddenly. I wanted to explain my effort. I wanted to tell them about my pride. The words would not come out. That moment taught me a crucial lesson. My achievements were always secondary. They were always less significant than Daniel's. This became the pattern for every success. The summer air hung heavy with cut grass. I sat in my room, 12 years old. My science fair project rested on my desk. It was a working model of a hydraulic dam. I had spent weeks designing the system. My fingers still bore glue marks. The local newspaper announced the winners. My name was listed first. I had won the regional science fair. Daniel burst into my room without knocking. He held his own trophy aloft. It was for the school debate competition. Mine is much more impressive, he declared. His voice was bright and proud. My father appeared in the doorway. He clapped Daniel on the shoulder. That's my boy, he boomed, a true natural leader. My mother followed close behind him. She barely glanced at my damn model. Clara, can you make sure dinner is set tonight? She asked. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. Daniel needs to rest his voice. My small triumph was swallowed whole. Not once did they ask about my project. Not once did they congratulate my win. I stopped expecting them to. The kitchen smelled of roasted chicken and white wine. It was my high school graduation dinner. The air was thick with forced cheerfulness. I was 18 years old. My acceptance letter to MIT lay on my bedroom dresser. I had received a full scholarship for engineering. My parents had only briefly acknowledged it. It's a wonderful school, dear, my mother had said. Daniel was the center of attention. He had been accepted to Boston College. His acceptance was celebrated for weeks. My father raised his glass for a toast. To Daniel, he announced, our future lawyer, a man of the people. Everyone at the table smiled. My aunt squeezed my arm gently. Clara, are you excited for college? She whispered. My mother immediately interjected. She will be fine, she said. Her voice was dismissive. She always manages to figure things out. Daniel needs more support. His path is much more demanding. A hot flush spread across my face. My plate suddenly felt very heavy. The food tasted like ash. My accomplishments were never celebrated. They were always a given. They were always minimized. They were used to highlight Daniel's supposed struggles. This was the pattern every single time. The fluorescent lights of the university design studio hummed faintly. It was 3 weeks before my final presentation. My project lay spread across the enormous drafting table. It was a proposal for a sustainable community center. I had poured hundreds of hours into the intricate designs. My fingers were stained with ink and graphite. The submission deadline loomed large. I had skipped meals and sleep. My eyes burned with exhaustion. My phone buzzed with an incoming call. It was my mother. Her voice sounded strained. Clara, she began. Your father and I need you to do something for Daniel. My heart sank immediately. Daniel was failing his architecture history class. He faced academic probation. He needed a perfect score on his final project. My mother's request was simple. She wanted me to help him with his design, not just offer advice. She meant I should largely complete it. I tried to protest gently. Mother, my own project is critical right now, I explained. I cannot risk my own grades. Her tone hardened instantly. This is not about your grades, Clara, she snapped. This is about family, this is about Daniel's future. My father took the phone from her, his voice was low and firm. We expect you to help your brother, he stated plainly. He needs this more than you do, you are always so capable, this should be easy for you. He added, just consider it part of your tuition. The veiled threat hung heavy in the air, my scholarship covered most of it. They still paid a small portion of my living expenses, I knew I had no real choice. I spent the next 2 weeks working on Daniel's project. My own designs suffered significantly. His proposal was almost identical to mine. I simplified elements for him. I knew my work would be compromised. I submitted my own project on time. It was a pale shadow of my original vision. Daniel presented his project first. His design was surprisingly polished. He received effusive praise from the faculty. My parents sat in the front row. They beamed with pride at him. When my turn came, my presentation felt weak. The questions from the panel were sharp. Miss Sterling, one professor began, his voice was cold. Your design bears a striking resemblance to Mr. Sterling's. Can you explain the similarities? A wave of nausea washed over me. My vision blurred slightly. My throat closed up completely. My parents sat silently in the audience. They did not meet my eyes. Daniel looked away quickly. I tried to explain my process. My voice cracked under the strain. I stammered through an answer. The professor looked unimpressed. Another professor interjected. Are you suggesting your brother copied your work, Miss Sterling? His tone was accusatory. My head throbbed with a dull ache. No, professor, I whispered. I was only trying to assist him. We collaborated on some ideas. It felt like a lie on my tongue. It felt like a betrayal of my own work. My parents still sat there motionless. Their faces were carefully blank. Daniel shifted in his seat. The implication was clear. I had either plagiarized Daniel's work or I had allowed him to copy mine. Either way, my academic integrity was shattered. The final grades were posted a week later. Daniel received an A+. My own grade was a C-. I lost my scholarship for the following semester. My parents never mentioned the incident. Not once did they acknowledge my distress, not once did they offer a word of comfort. My father simply said, well, you learned a lesson, didn't you, Clara? His words were like a physical blow. My mother suggested I find a part-time job. You can still contribute, she said. Her voice was too calm. That moment divided my life cleanly. It was the point of no return. I understood my place in their world. I was disposable. My truth did not matter. My pain was irrelevant. My achievements were only useful if they served Daniel. I stopped expecting anything from them. I stopped hoping for their love. I simply stopped. The air in my small apartment was thick with dust. My belongings were packed into 3 cardboard boxes. I was 20 years old. My tuition money was gone. My scholarship was lost. My future felt uncertain. The morning was gray and overcast. I carried the last box to my beat-up sedan. The engine coughed to life. I did not look back at the university dorms. I did not call my parents. There was no grand exit. There was no dramatic confrontation. I simply drove away from that campus. I drove away from that city. I drove away from everything I had known. The Sterling family house disappeared in my rearview mirror. The stately colonial grew smaller and smaller. It shrank to a distant memory. I was completely silent for 12 years. I did not send birthday cards. I did not return holiday calls. My number changed 3 times. My email address became unsearchable. My new life started with silence. My first apartment was a studio in a rundown part of Boston. The single window overlooked a grimy brick wall. The rent was impossibly high. My savings dwindled quickly. I worked 3 jobs to pay my way. I waited tables at a diner. I tutored calculus students. I cleaned offices late at night. My hands often ached with fatigue. My feet were perpetually sore. I studied engineering textbooks in stolen moments. The pages were dog-eared and coffee-stained. Sleep became a luxury I could not afford. There were nights I cried into my pillow. The loneliness was a physical weight. I missed the comfort of a home. I missed the simple act of being believed. But giving up was never an option. I had nothing to go back to. I had everything to prove to myself. My purpose became a silent, burning fire. I would build a life that stood tall. No one would ever question its foundations. No one would ever undermine my work again. The old office building smelled faintly of dust and forgotten dreams. I was 27 years old. My own company, Sterling Structural, was finally real. My hands trembled slightly as I held the pen. The commercial lease lay open on the realtor's desk. The monthly payments felt enormous. The space was small, just 2 rooms. It had scuffed linoleum floors. A single fluorescent light flickered. This was my first official office. It was not a shared desk. It was not a rented cubicle. It was mine alone. The realtor smiled politely at me. Are you ready, Miss Sterling? She asked. My voice felt surprisingly strong. Absolutely, I replied. I signed my name with a flourish. The paper crinkled softly under my hand. A quiet wave of triumph washed over me. It was a victory measured in square feet. It was a tangible start. The glossy magazine lay open on my coffee table. The article featured my firm. It highlighted our innovative design for the Fenway pedestrian bridge. My name was prominently displayed. It was a full-page spread. A photograph showed me standing proudly. I stood beside the completed bridge structure. My hard hat was tucked under my arm. The words Clara Sterling, Principal Engineer, gleamed. My heart pounded with a quiet joy. I traced the letters of my name. It was not Daniel's name. It was not a shared credit. It was mine alone. My phone began to ring immediately. Colleagues offered congratulations. Clients called with new projects. The recognition felt earned. It felt solid. It felt real. The words on the page confirmed it. My work was making a difference. My name was out there. No one could deny it now. The accountant's office was sleek and modern. Glass walls overlooked the city skyline. I was 30 years old. My financial statements were neatly stacked. My accountant, a kind woman named Alina, smiled at me. Clara, she said, her voice was warm. Your projections for this quarter are excellent. In fact, you've officially exceeded your 5-year target. My breath hitched in my throat. I remembered the stained notebook. It sat tucked away in my first cheap apartment. I had scribbled that exact financial goal. I had written it at 3 in the morning. I had barely covered my rent that month. Now that number was concrete. It was undeniable. It was a testament to years of struggle. A quiet tear tracked down my cheek. It was not a tear of sadness, it was a tear of pure, unadulterated relief. My shoulders dropped an inch. I realized I had been holding them up for years. My empire was built. It stood firm and true. The heavy mahogany door of my office swung open. My assistant, Sarah, announced them quietly. Miss Sterling, your mother and father are here. My pulse quickened slightly. It was a strange sensation. My office was on the 47th floor. The entire city stretched out below. The room itself was a testament to my success. Rich dark wood, expansive glass windows, a long, custom-made conference table. They stood just inside the doorway. My mother wore a pale blue silk suit. Her hair was perfectly coiffed. She looked thinner than I remembered. Her eyes were shadowed. My father stood beside her. He wore a crisp navy blazer. His posture was still ramrod straight, but his face looked drawn. His once booming voice was now softer. It carried a hint of desperation. Clara, he began, his voice cracked slightly. We need to talk. His gaze swept around my office. His eyes lingered on the framed awards. He looked at the model of the Seaport Tower. My heart did not pound. My hands did not shake. A quiet calm settled over me. I simply gestured to the chairs. Please, I said, my voice was level. Sit down. They sat across the table from me. The silence stretched between us. It was a different kind of silence. It was not the silence of my childhood. It was not the silence of my absence. It was the silence of their need. My mother wrung her hands. My father cleared his throat. Daniel is in trouble, my mother finally whispered. Her voice was thin. His new development project, the Willow Creek Lofts. My mind immediately clicked. I had read about the project. There were rumors of structural instability. The permits were being held up. They need a certified structural review, my father added. His words were clipped from a reputable firm, someone to sign off on the plans. He paused, then continued. Someone like you, Clara. He avoided my gaze. My mother nodded vigorously. He says it is a misunderstanding, she pleaded. Just a few minor issues. Your name would clear everything up. Her voice was laced with a desperate hope. It would save him. It would save everything. I reached into the drawer of my desk. My fingers closed around a heavy, embossed certificate. It was my professional engineering license. It bore the seal of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I placed it gently on the polished wood. It lay exactly equidistant from each of us. My voice was quiet. It was steady. Tell me again why my work for Daniel was a C-, I asked. The air in the room became absolutely still. The hum of the city outside seemed to fade away. My mother's hands stopped moving instantly. Her eyes widened slightly. My father's breath caught audibly. His face drained of all color. He swallowed hard. His jaw muscles clenched tight. He looked from the certificate to my face, then to the floor, then to my mother. The color did not return to his cheeks. My own hands lay flat on the table. My pulse was even and calm. I noticed a faint tremor in my mother's lower lip. The silence was complete. It was deafening. It was everything I had never been allowed to say. Cruelty is never discipline. It does not matter how calmly it is delivered. It does not matter if it is wrapped in an explanation of future benefit. It is simply cruelty. Favoritism is never love. It is not love just because it is called protection. It is not love because it looks like devotion. It is a poison that eats at the core of a family. Silence is not forgiveness. It is not forgiveness just because no one speaks the words out loud. True forgiveness requires acknowledging the wound. It requires genuine remorse. Real family is built on a foundation of trust. It requires respect for each person's unique truth. It demands validation of their lived experience. It means unwavering support for their dreams. It means celebrating their triumphs, large and small. It means offering comfort in their failures. It means recognizing their worth always. It means seeing them for who they truly are, not for who you want them to be, not for what they can do for another. Sometimes the only way to find that truth is to leave. Sometimes the only way to build that foundation is to walk away. You do not owe explanations to those who never listened. You do not need blessings from those who only ever doubted you. Your peace is a precious thing. It is constructed painstakingly, brick by painstaking brick. Protect it fiercely. Let no one dismantle what you have built within yourself. It is possible to stand tall on your own ground.